Today we're taking booze in the kitchen and making ginger syrup. For this recipe, you're going to need a measuring cup, smaller measuring cups, a vegetable brush, a wooden spoon, a spatula, a funnel, a fine mesh strainer, a bottle, and a juicer. Or optionally, a food processor and a cheesecloth. If you don't have any Jack LaLanne equipment, you can just use a knife, a cutting board, and a cheesecloth. The ingredients are just ginger and sugar. Ginger is a root that's gotten no love from the late 20th century Western cuisine. It's been turned into a sweet, caramelly, not quite Coke that has nothing to do with the biting, spicy, earthy goodness of the real thing. Ginger's supposed to grab your taste buds by the horns and pile drive them to the mat. That's where the term mule comes from in a Moscow Mule, because the ginger hits you like a kick in the teeth. Which is exactly how it works with ginger syrup. This recipe does not pull any punches. It's sweeter than straight ginger juice, but it still has the bite and the jaw muscles to back it up. Once you have your ginger juice, this recipe couldn't be easier. It's 4 parts ginger, 3 parts sugar. The trouble is that ginger is not something that likes to give up its juice without a fight, but I'm sure you're up to the challenge. This recipe is pretty concentrated, but that's good because you can control how bold or thinned out you want the flavor to be. If you make it with water or simple syrup or some other method, you can't go back and increase the intensity. And ginger is all about the full-bodied flavor that wakes you up and reminds you you're alive. Let's start with the ginger root. Give it a good little scrub. It's not going into surgery, but you did just grab it out of a basket at the market. For this size recipe, I'm using about a pound of ginger. If you're using a juicer, turn it on high, drop in the ginger, and push it through. Once you're done, strain it through a fine mesh strainer into your measuring cup. Push down onto the solids to extract as much juice as you can. And that's it. You've got the juice. The pound of ginger will yield about a cup of ginger juice. If you're using a food processor, chop it into some manageable chunks, drop it in your food processor, and give it a few good pulses until it's finely diced. Then lay your cheesecloth over your measuring cup. Push it down in the middle so it has a pocket. Scrape your diced ginger in the middle, gather up the cheesecloth, and squeeze the living juice out of it. The goal is to extract as much juice as you can without giving yourself carpal tunnel. If you're chopping it, dice it up into real small bits, scrape it into your cheesecloth, and squeeze. Any way you slice it, once you have the ginger juice, it's time to add the sugar. Measure out a 3/4 cup of sugar. Add that to the ginger juice. In this case, that's 2 pours. Then stir it up until the sugar is completely dissolved. It may take a little bit to get the motor started, but it'll integrate pretty easily once it gets going. I made a pretty big batch, but feel free to scale it as you need it. It's just a 3 to 4 ratio of ginger juice to sugar. Instead of a cup of ginger juice and 3/4 cup of sugar, you can do 2 ounces of ginger juice and 1.5 ounces of sugar. Then pop into your funnel and pour the syrup in your bottle. Pull out the funnel, jam in the top, give it a shake, and stick it in the fridge. The ginger will always settle when it's resting, so be sure to give it a good shake before you use it. This ginger syrup will make a really spicy and really fresh ginger ale. Just fill a glass with ice. Measure 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of ginger syrup, depending on how spicy you like it. Add that to the glass. Give it a splash of lime juice. Top it with soda water, and you've got ginger ale. Then feel free to add some whiskey, or your booze of choice, to make a homemade buck. And there you have it, homemade ginger syrup. Cheers. Click here for more videos. Be sure to subscribe, and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.